Sonic 3 just achieved a phenomenal exclusive box office milestone as it became the second video game movie ever to earn over $200 million domestically. That's just in the United States and Canada. The only other movie to do that was the Super Mario Bros. Movie back in 2023. To put that in perspective, do you know how many video game movies have even crossed the $100 million mark domestically? 10. That's it. And Sonic 3 just doubled that. It's in a league of its own. But we're not done yet. Sonic 3 is expected to cross 400 million worldwide in the next few weeks. That's a huge milestone. And when you consider that this is a third movie in a franchise, that's even more impressive. Usually by the third movie, things are starting to slow down. But Sonic, he's just picking up speed. But hey, I don't want to just throw a bunch of numbers at you. Let's talk about why Sonic 3 is doing so well. And to do that, we need to look at what makes this movie different from other video game adaptations. So stay tuned, because we're going to dive into that next. Recalling back, the only other video game movie to achieve that feat was the Super Mario Bros. Movie in 2023, which made $575 million domestically. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I was pretty disappointed with the Mario Bros. Movie. As a huge Mario fan, I was excited to see my favorite characters on the big screen, but what we got was just a mindless collection of references and Easter eggs. A bland, soulless cash grab. Sure, the animation was pretty, and it was cool to see the Mushroom Kingdom come to life. But beyond that, the movie just felt empty. It was like they took a checklist of things from the games and just crammed them into the movie without any real thought or care. And don't even get me started on the casting. Chris Pratt as Mario? Really? I mean, he's a fine actor, but he just didn't capture the spirit of the character at all. It felt like a stunt casting choice rather than a genuine attempt to find the right voice for Mario. But hey, that's just my opinion. I know the movie made a ton of money, and I'm sure there are people out there who enjoyed it. But for me, it was a big letdown. But back to Sonic 3. The fact that it's only the second video game movie to cross the $200 million domestic mark is a huge deal. And when you consider that reaching $100 million domestic is a rare feat for video game movies in general, it becomes even more impressive. Sonic 3 is also getting a ton of love from critics. The movie currently has an impressive 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty much unheard of for a video game movie. Usually these adaptations get torn apart by critics, but Sonic 3 seems to be bucking that trend. So what does all of this tell us? It tells us that Sonic 3 is a legitimate hit. It's a movie that's not just appealing to hardcore Sonic fans, but to a wide audience, and it's doing all of this in a genre that has historically been very difficult to crack. Let's talk about the future of the franchise, because things are looking pretty exciting. First off, Paramount has already given the green light to Sonic the Hedgehog 4. That's right, before Sonic 3 even hit theaters, the studio was already confident enough in its success to start working on the next installment. And considering how well Sonic 3 has been performing, it's not hard to see why. Now, here's what we know about Sonic 4 so far. The movie is set to arrive in theaters in 2027, so we've got a bit of a wait ahead of us, but hey, good things come to those who wait, right? As for the plot, well, we don't really know much at this point. Paramount is keeping things pretty tightly under wraps. But if I had to guess, I'd say we can probably expect Sonic to face off against a new villain, or maybe even a team-up of villains from the games. One thing we do know is that Sonic 4 will likely see the return of some key cast members. Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic, seems like a pretty safe bet to come back. He's been a big part of the success of these movies, and his chemistry with James Marsden's character, Tom, is one of the highlights of the series. The big question mark, though, is Jim Carrey. Carrey plays Dr. Robotnik, Sonic's nemesis, and he's been an absolute scene stealer in these movies. However, Carrey has hinted that he might be stepping back from acting in the future, so there's a chance he might not return for Sonic 4. If that happens, it'll be a big loss for the franchise, but I'm sure they'll find a way to make it work. Of course, all of this is just speculation at this point. We won't know for sure what Sonic 4 has in store until we get closer to its release. But one thing's for sure. With the success of Sonic 3, the future is looking bright for everyone's favorite Speedy Hedgehog. And who knows? Maybe by the time Sonic 4 rolls around, it'll be facing some stiff competition from other video game adaptations. Maybe we'll finally get that Zelda movie we've all been dreaming of. Or maybe Mario will finally get a movie that does justice to the character. But regardless of what happens, I think Sonic has proven that video game movies can be successful if they're done right. And with Paramount already putting their faith in Sonic 4, it's clear that they believe in this franchise and its potential. Across the 3 Sonic movies that have been released so far, The franchise has earned over $1 billion at the global box office. That's a staggering amount of money, and it's a clear indication that audiences are connecting with these films. But it's not just about the money. The Sonic movies have also been consistently well received by both critics and audiences. The first movie, released in 2020, has a 64% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty solid for a video game adaptation. And the second and third movies have fared even better, with ratings in the high 60s and low 70s. That's a really impressive track record, especially when you consider the history of video game movies. For a long time, it seemed like video game adaptations were cursed, with movies like Super Mario Bros., Street Fighter, and Doom all failing to connect with audiences. But the Sonic movies have managed to buck that trend. And what's even more impressive is that the franchise managed to overcome a pretty significant controversy early on. If you remember when the first Sonic movie trailer dropped, there was a huge backlash over the design of Sonic. He looked weird, with human-like teeth and a creepy, realistic fur texture. Fans were not happy, and the filmmakers had to go back to the drawing board to redesign the character. But here's the thing. They actually listened to the fans. They delayed the movie, spent the time and money to redesign Sonic, and the end result was a character that felt much more true to the spirit of the games. And audiences responded to that. They appreciated that the filmmakers were willing to take feedback and make changes to get things right. Of course, it helps that the movies have also featured some really strong performances. Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic, brings a ton of energy and humor to the role. And he has great chemistry with James Marsden's character Tom. And then there's Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, who is just a force of nature in these movies. He chews up the scenery in the best possible way, and his over-the-top performance is a perfect fit for the cartoon villain. So when you put all of that together, the box office success, the critical acclaim, the ability to overcome controversy, and the strong performances, it's clear that the Sonic franchise has really found its footing in the world of movies. And that's not an easy thing to do, especially for a video game adaptation. But what I think is really cool about all of this is that it shows that there's still a place for these kinds of movies. In an era where so many franchises are getting dark and gritty reboots, the Sonic movies are a reminder that sometimes it's okay to just have fun, to embrace the silliness and the humor and the pure entertainment value of a property. And that's what I love about these movies. They're not trying to be something they're not. They know what they are, a fun, fast-paced adventure with a lovable blue hedgehog at the center. And they lean into that with everything they've got. Of course, a big part of it comes down to nostalgia. Sonic the Hedgehog has been around for over 30 years, and for a lot of people, he's a beloved childhood character. There's a whole generation of fans who grew up playing Sonic games on the Sega Genesis, and seeing him on the big screen taps into that sense of nostalgia in a really powerful way. But here's the thing. The Sonic movies aren't just relying on nostalgia to get by. They're also willing to innovate and try new things. Each movie has introduced new characters and storylines that expand the Sonic universe in exciting ways. Characters like Tails, Knuckles, and now Shadow are all getting their moment in the spotlight, and it helps keep things fresh and engaging for both longtime fans and newcomers to the franchise. And perhaps most importantly, the Sonic movies have managed to avoid many of the pitfalls that have plagued other video game adaptations. They're not trying to cram in every single character and storyline from the games, and they're not taking themselves too seriously. Instead, they've focused on telling a good story with engaging characters, and they've trusted that the audience will come along for the ride. And the best part? This is just the beginning. With Sonic 3 already a huge hit and Sonic 4 on the way, this franchise shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. It's a testament to the enduring appeal of the character and to the hardworking teams at Sega and Paramount who have brought him to life on the big screen. But more than that, I think the success of the Sonic movies is proof that video game adaptations can work when they are done right. For too long, Hollywood has treated video games as a mere cash grab, pumping out soulless adaptations that fail to capture what made the games so special in the first place. But Sonic is showing that there's another way, a way that respects the source material while still telling a good story on its own terms. And as a fan of both video games and movies, that gives me a lot of hope for the future. Who knows what other classic gaming franchises could be next in line for the big screen treatment? Maybe we'll finally get that Legend of Zelda movie we've all been dreaming of, or a proper Metroid adaptation. The possibilities are endless. But for now, I'll leave you with this. If you haven't checked out the Sonic movies yet, do yourself a favor and give them a watch. You might just be surprised at how much fun you have. And if you're already a fan, well, you know what to do. Get hyped for Sonic 4 because it's going to be one wild ride. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.